two, one. Hello, everybody. Gonna do a little thing called the crow's nest today. It's been like a month, I think, or
It's
close
been a
to it.
fortnight of months.
Been a fortnight of months, and our special guest today can't keep quiet before I introduce him.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
is Aaron Lovejoy.
I told you
Um,
to turn my mic off before we started and have complete control, but you didn't do it.
I didn't do it. I should have heeded your warnings, definitely. Well, I wanted to make sure that I waited for this or for today's guest for until I got a little more of this experience with doing this show because then I wanted to make sure that one of the risk of having Aaron Lovejoy on was this could very well be our last show.
Yes, of
With the
course.
censors and with the spreading of the Lovejoy, the infection, patient zero may close down this show completely. Because you are patient zero, by the way.
Yes, yes, and I firmly believe that the little zombie guy that they did for ReaperCon a couple years ago. I think that was
Yeah.
me.
It was. It is. You go to a con and you sit next to Aaron Lovejoy, you're gonna get sick. You're getting the
There
carpet
was
ride.
I forget which ReaperCon it was, but
Yeah.
everyone was sick. I got to ReaperCon, I was fine.
Yeah.
Walked up to my hotel room and coughed once going
Oh.
into the closet. And then it went downhill from there.
Yeah.
And by the end of the con, I remember seeing you, Michael, walking
Uh-huh.
around, and I've never seen you so sad in my life. Like, you look like death warmed over. By then, I was over it. I was like, I'm feeling a lot better. But so you're welcome.
It's all your fault.
Yeah,
That was just that one con. I can
yeah.
basically every con that every Reaper con we've gone to together. We've gotten sick. Whether it's because we were making out or not, I won't disclose that.
We
But
won't disclose any of that at all.
All right. So, for those who have watched the previous episodes, you see me work on this before. This is Julie Guthrie's Dragon Bust. It was a special limited edition resin piece a few ReaperCons ago. Speaking of ReaperCon, but now, I don't know if you're aware of this, Aaron. This was part of the Bones Kickstarter. This last one. This was a level that you can buy into. So it's going to
I am
be.
not aware of that, but
It's
now
in
I
the
am.
It's super freaking cool. And
Cool.
I think they should make more of these. I just think they're really
Well, that
awesome.
was
So,
my girlfriend Liz and I sort of we tag teamed and painted
mhm.
that together for her mom because her mom loves dragons.
I thought you
And
were
that was
going somewhere else with tag teaming.
yeah,
That shit's
well,
not
yes,
appropriate for the
exactly. And
show.
you're
But
like, oh my gosh, here it goes. um, no, we like I would paint a little on it, and she would paint a little on it, and it was a really fun project to kind of go back and forth with. And then we gave it to her for Christmas, and her mom really liked it. I mean, she liked the part that I painted, you know.
yeah,
No,
yeah. Well,
she loved it that her daughter was painting it. And actually, Liz probably did a lot better job than I did.
yeah, she actually probably paid attention and cared and tried.
Yeah, exactly. And whereas I was just like, I want to paint this green dragon blue, I don't care.
Yeah. I see. A couple shout outs. We got Gene on. We got Jason on. Rhonda, Bob, and Julie. So rings, bug lips. That's what I can see. Max Styles is on. So a bunch of thanks everybody for tuning in. I know this show has been on and again, off again. We haven't been the most consistent. Last week I failed to notify Justin in an appropriate time to say that I was going camping. So I missed the show last week, or we didn't do a show last week, and then I missed D&D too. So bummer to both of those. But we're back, and hopefully I can make D&D again in the future. So today, Greg Zuniga is on. Hey, Greg, how are you? I wanted to again talk about Aaron and talk about. I thought about having you on, and what is something that we haven't really addressed on this show. We've had sculptors on, we've had professional, the professional sculptors. This is what they do for a living. This is what Gene and Jason and Bobby Jackson and Bob and Julie do for a living. But we've had Rhonda and Derek and Aaron Hartwell. But with Aaron and with Jen Greenwald's been on as well. They've had I'm going to call them real world chops. Not to say.
You know what's called smarts.
But
With an S.
and Rhonda main gig is painting, but you've taken it to another level, another degree, and you've been a full-time miniature painter for how
Yeah.
many years now?
Too many. Let's
Yeah.
not talk about it.
Yeah.
Probably longer than most of you have been alive. No, probably 2009 is when I lost my job, and that's when
Yeah.
I was like, I got to do something in the interim of getting another job.
Yeah.
I'm going to paint a couple of my friends' models, and here we are, 2020, almost 2021, and I'm still here. So I
Yeah.
must have done either something horribly wrong or right along the way. One of the two.
Well, I mean, and you started off just mainly with just you painting GW armies or commission alone,
Right,
right?
yeah, but
Yeah.
that was all my friends in San Diego played Apocalypse, and
Hmm.
quite honestly, Apocalypse is the reason probably I'm here today as a professional painter because there was just so much work.
Hmm.
Instead of painting one tank, you painted 12 tanks for the guy. All the same type. So it was interesting, and at that time I couldn't paint figures fast. I could paint tanks fast,
Hmm.
so I knew I could make money at that, but I couldn't paint single figures very fast at all. And I knew that my friends were running out of tanks and had tons of figures, so I had to learn how to paint quickly, to an army level, very quickly. So I kind
Well,
of just taught myself.
what was your level of painting when you decided to start doing commission work? Had you competed for
Incredibly,
GW?
incredibly low.
Okay.
I had won all my golden demons by then.
Okay.
So I had 9 golden demons. I don't think I had any Sophie trophies at the time,
Hmm.
but I had a lot of industry awards. And so, you know what, honestly, I would say I was lucky in that respect because I had already gotten to a plateau where I wanted to go. And so to start painting professionally, it wasn't like I was trying to prove that I was a good painter. It was just I'm trying to make a living at this.
Hmm.
And I know that a lot of my friends have gotten into that rut that they're like, well, I want to prove how good of a painter I am. And when you're painting professionally, you really can't do that because you'll end up going broke. Painting to a really high level takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
You don't know this, Michael, but no, I'm just kidding. You obviously know this. I mean, how much time, like even a quick paint job, and then you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe this would be good for ReaperCon. Well, now you're going to throw in another 20, 30 hours into it, easy,
Yeah.
and that's it.
I do not know how to paint something where I make money with the time that I've invested into it.
It's next to I think it's next to impossible
Yeah.
because, like, if I'm doing a display figure for somebody, or even studio figures are tough. I do
Hmm.
studio work because it keeps my name out there. And if you're a commission painter, probably the worst thing you can do, I think, is paint studio models.
Yeah. Yeah.
because you want to do a good job, your name's out there for everybody. So if I paint the worst dark sword miniature ever, that's what's going on their website forever.
No,
And
you
everyone's
can't
like,
do
oh,
that because I already have stuff on the website. So there you go.
well,
Yeah.
but I've seen your stuff and it looks really good. Also, I mean, props to you. You're like the only person who did true metallics on that website. Like,
Because I beat Ludwig down until he
yeah,
finally accepted me.
right, but it looks awesome. Like
Thanks.
I really appreciate both styles. I know this is jumping off on another tangent, but
Sure.
I really like true metallics and I really like non-metallics, and I think there's places for both of them, and
Hmm.
I can appreciate both of them for different things.
Hmm.
And but anyways, so back to like studio painting and stuff. It just takes a long time. So if I figure, okay, so studio paint jobs, I figure I have 14 hours to complete it.
Oh.
So what if it takes 20?
Hmm.
Because sometimes that happens. Maybe you started painting it, maybe the customer changed their mind on a color, or you just painted it the wrong color, or it just took longer to do that face than you thought it would take. Where you can't just be like, okay, well, we're going to skip the face this time.
Yeah.
You got to do it. So, like I said, I mean, there's good things that kind of come from it. I know that with Reaper and Dark Sword as well, they pimp the painter, so your name goes up in lights. So
Yeah.
one, that's another good reason to actually, put a little extra time into it. But two, you get some promotion. I've painted for other companies where no one even knew I painted for them. So who cares? You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
So I think that's an important thing too. If you're looking at doing studio work, go with companies, because you're never going to make $1 million at it.
Mm-mm.
But go with companies that will say your name at least. Michael Proctor did this.
Yeah.
And that always helps.
There should be another objective besides monetary when you're doing, commission work for companies. It is name recognition. You're building your brand or
Yeah.
whatever, or it's just fun, and I still, you and I have talked about this before. I get such a kick when a company approaches me with a Dark Sword Reaper, whoever, and I paint something for it, and I can go to the website and I can show a relative or whatever, hey, check this out. It's cool. It's cool to see that. I still get a
It
buzz
is
out of
cool.
that.
And not
Yeah.
everybody gets to do that. Not to
Yeah.
like say that we're better than somebody else or anything, but it is something that you've worked really hard to get to over the years. However, if that's your only form of income, you are going
Yeah.
to go broke. Like
No.
period. Like and what I've seen that kind of stinks is people become disillusioned by the industry, and they end up not enjoying painting anymore. And I really like, you got to enjoy what you're
Yeah.
doing. Don't let the business part of it ruin your fun part of it. And
Well,
I think
let's
I've
go
learned
down
to do
there,
that.
because I'm gonna talk more about what you're doing
Okay.
for your business side. But I think that's a good segue here. Is how do you've got, this is your sole income. How do you do what I like to call the just for fun pieces? Like, this piece is not for anything. It's just for me. I may enter it at some point, but that's not the goal of this. I just like this figure and I want to paint it. Do you get an opportunity to do that much? Or how do you keep the joy of it going for you if the first one
So
isn't good? Right.
that is an excellent question with not an easy answer.
Yeah.
So there was a time, where I will say I was pretty depressed with the state of my job. Absolutely love my job, but
Yeah.
I never did anything for myself. So we would go to ReaperCon, for instance, perfect example. We'd go to ReaperCon, and I would get inspired by everyone else's work. I'd see your work, Rhonda's, Derek. I mean, and just all my friends. I'd see their work. I'd get inspired. I'd have a good idea. I'd go home and see the pile of jobs that were on my desk.
Yeah.
And like I always said, good ideas come to me to die. Because it looked like I couldn't do anything with them.
Yeah.
Simply buying figures. I bought figures. So remember back when we had normal conventions, the last ReaperCon,
Yeah.
I bought a couple miniatures against my good. I told myself, don't buy this because you're not going to do anything with it.
Right.
I bought a
Right.
couple of figures, and it felt really good because I was like, in fact, I bought one of the figures that you painted that year, the creepy looking dude with the cool skin texture and everything.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah.
It was just,
The scale 75 guy.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So loved your version of that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do a creepy version too. Yeah, he's still in the box.
Oh.
But so some of it is I buy things and I know I'll never touch them. I think we all do that a little bit.
Oh yeah. Totally.
But sometimes I just force myself. So what I can do now is every once in a while I paint gaming stuff for myself. And I give myself like a Sunday, and I'm like, okay, this squad for my Shadows of Brimstone game, it's 6 guys. I have a Sunday to finish them, and I will do it the best I can. But when that Sunday's over, it's over, and I'm back to work. So I kind of do stuff like that. I can't really say I've been able to do any really big projects because it's really hard to justify taking 2 months off work to finish it, So it's tough. It's definitely tough doing your own stuff, especially if you're doing it, if this is 100% your job. Because, I mean, quite frankly, you look at like that, okay, if it takes me 250 hours to do something really cool, like a really cool diorama, that's about 2 months of work. Can I take 2 months of work off? That's the first question, which the answer to that is no.
No. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, like, if I was just before, when I had a normal job, I'd paint it after work, and I loved it, and I wasn't worried about making money off of my painting or anything. And so I would, like, if it took me a year to do that project, then so be it, But it didn't really affect my, my kids ate. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I wasn't out on the street or anything. But now it's a little bit different with like, especially just doing commission painting by itself. it's very hard to make ends meet. Like you can do it, but it's like you're going 100 miles an hour all the time, and I don't know anybody who can keep up that pace. It's very difficult.
So it's maybe one of the good turning points, because I remember being at an artist con with you or being at a Reaper con with you, and we would just sitting there and talking, and you're like, I'm not making any money right now, which you weren't. You were at ReaperCon and you were teaching and everything.
I was wildly successful as a commission painter.
Yeah,
like and really successful.
And you were, but you were saying, I'm not making any money. Now, with then it wasn't too long afterwards, after us having, I remember that conversation, then Miniature Monthly kind of came about. And that is your company, right? For lack of a better term, where you do more of the new social media kind of painting, right? So there's more of an active, and with the involvement, the creation, I guess, of Patreon.
Right.
You weren't necessarily the first one to jump on the Patreon wagon, but I see that you guys were one of the more successful ones.
You were right up there. So Ben Comets was like, I would say he wasn't the first either, but he was the first that was like, okay, this is a good idea. This is happening. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do, so Patreon is a thing where you can be a patron of a artist or something like that. Mm-hmm. And some people are just artists and they post their work on it, and people, if you want to support that artist and look at their art, which a lot of it they post online anyways, you can do so. I wanted to do something a little bit more of a company, like teaching type role. And so our Patreon was, we would do video tutorials. I immediately, it was actually at a ReaperCon. So these cons are great ways to, find business prospects and stuff too. Mm-hmm. I started talking with Jonathan and Elizabeth Beckley, and I knew that she'd done a couple of videos, and he edited videos. And I'm like, hey, I need a video editor for this. And so it ended up in the talking. We ended up just joining forces and doing a joint venture. And then about 6 months into that, we brought Matt DiPietro on. And so the one thing I really like about Miniature Monthly is it has different styles. Mm-hmm. I paint one way, Matt paints a completely different way, and Elizabeth paints a completely different way than either of us. And I think that's kind of cool because there's no one way that's perfect. I try to say that in my classes. Like, hey, I'm telling you how I do it, but if you do it differently, that's okay too. This is just an idea. But it's different when you hear it from three different people, Mm-hmm. Matt uses a wet palette completely differently than the way I use mine. Mm-hmm. Like, completely. In fact, his way goes completely against what I teach, which I think is awesome because mm-hmm. it shows that you can, and Matt is a friggin' awesome painter, Mm-hmm. And so it just shows you that it's what works in your own workflow that is actually mm-hmm. the way that you should paint, But I think that with Patreon and even the growth in YouTube videos and stuff, this is the age of learning how to paint. There's mm-hmm. so many opportunities. Reaper's Twitch page, mm-hmm. Liz and I watch Anne in the mornings.
Oh, you do?
While we're getting ready for work and getting started and everything, and she's painting her fire giant right now, and it's just cool. One, mm-hmm. it's kind of fun just to hear your friends talk, mm-hmm. And tell goofy stories or whatever, and two, you can learn something from everyone. Like, I learned stuff from my mom about painting, and she doesn't know anything about painting, mm-hmm. But everyone has input, and if you just kind of keep your ears open, you can find out some pretty cool stuff, But yeah. So
we've talked about that quite a bit. Is definitely, and that's why what I liked about you said about Miniature Monthly is the three different main artists and the three different styles. I know you've had a few other people on as well, like Anthony Rodriguez, right? But it's good to pay attention to that. But it's fun to watch some of these Twitch shows, regardless of the level of painter or whatever, from Anne to a lot of the independents. I think Mocha comes off the top of my head. They're just, it's neat to see how other people slap paint on a mini, and their philosophies and their attitudes.
It's shocking sometimes.
And it's helpful from a personal motivation standpoint. We talked a little bit about how do you keep the joy in it, to watch somebody else that's engaged and and loving it, it can
Yeah.
spark your own interest as well.
So I'm a firm believer that passion can move mountains.
Mm-hmm,
Like passion is what drives all of us, and it can be good and it can bad.
mm-hmm,
I know some
mm-hmm,
people are very passionate in bad ways, but
mm-hmm.
I think I watch Ben Comet's video, and I'm suddenly he's passion oozing out of him. He loves miniature painting so much, and if I'm feeling a little bit down about my painting or whatever, I watch, or I'm just not inspired.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a little bit of Ben Comments and boom, I'm up and painting again. Or,
Yeah.
and that could be, I watch Sergio's videos. I'm all over the place. It's always good to learn from other people. And also it's good to be part of their journey, I think too, support your local painter, especially when they're teaching you how to do stuff.
No, and I think it's great for everyone to hear too, as someone that is multiple demon, golden demon winner, all the awards that you've won, all the crystal brushes that you've won, that you still learn and you're still watching people
Yeah.
to learn and get better. It's good to hear that. I've heard a few people, experienced people, that say, I got nothing more I can learn. I know everything already. It's wrong. I'm never going to say anything is wrong, but that is wrong. You can
I think
always
it's
learn.
wrong.
Yeah.
You can always learn something new, and sometimes it's just gaining inspiration from that person, like
Yeah.
getting, everyone has cool ideas. You can't think of everything.
Mm-mm.
And going back to like loving what you do and doing it as a business, that reminded me. One of the big things that I learned that helped me early on in my business was I realized it was okay to hate miniature painting. And you're probably like, wait, what?
Yeah, right. I know exactly what you mean. Right when you said it, but go for it.
So there's days I wake up and I go, if I see another miniature ever again, I will throw up.
Right.
I'm just over it. I'm over non-metallic metal. I'm over trying to get the highlights just right. I'm over blending. I'm over all that stuff. I just don't care. Or like I painted the Cool Mini or Not Kickstarter, the Zombie Side, the very first one that they did. It's painted sets.
Yeah.
It's almost 2,000 miniatures, and it took me 8 months to paint it. I woke up some days and I was like, I hate my life. Like this is the worst ever. But you know what? You have to be able to, like, I think to love something even more, you got to be okay with not liking it sometimes. It'd be like, what's your favorite food? If you ate that for 3 meals a day for the next year and a half, you would absolutely hate it after the first week. It was too much. So I learned that it was okay to not like my job. The difference is the next week, maybe I'm doing a new project and I absolutely love my job. And if I had a normal job, I'd probably hate it all the time,
Right.
So that was one of the things that's really helped me over the years, is just giving myself the ability to go, you know what? I'm not feeling it this week. I'll still paint because I need to make a living, but it's okay to not like it, and I've seen so many painters rage quit because they're like, I've lost the joy in miniature painting. And it's like, well, yeah, because you put a price tag on it and you think that you have to love it all the time. And I think it's okay to not love it all the time.
Well, has the coaching that you do, has the videos, the teaching helped you not get into that just block? Because before all you were doing was commission painting. Has the teaching and everything else helped you keep motivated
it's a little bit different. I'll put it that way. So one of the things, one of the reasons why I diversified out was because I was swamped at commission painting. I was very successful, and my credit cards were all maxed out. I had no money in my bank account, and I had no money in savings, and that was just the way it was. And I knew that if anything, I was getting older. If you haven't noticed.
Yeah, I looked at the picture. Yeah, I hadn't noticed. Yeah.
We've known each other like almost 15 years now, Michael. We've known each other a long time. I mean, the time is slipping by quick. Like one day we're gonna be like, you remember 50 years ago when we did this, and that's when we'll both throw up. But so I realized, I was like, I need to change something, because if something happens to me medically, or what if I broke my arm? I was still skateboarding at the time, so what if I broke my arm? I can't work and I don't have insurance.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really screwed, my, and it's not just me, my kids are screwed,
Yeah.
And so I really started I was like, I need to change something. Otherwise I need to do something else, like literally find a new field. And that kind of made me sad because I really loved what I was doing, despite those few days a year that I hated it. So that's when I was like, I need to diversify. And I think with any like sole proprietor venture, no matter what you're doing, I think being diversified is good, and getting like having multiple incomes. So if that's you're selling stuff on the side, like you have a little like you're retailing Reaper miniatures, out of your garage or something, that would be a side project, And so I that's when I started thinking about the Patreon thing and doing like video tutorials. The other big problem, and I'm just gonna like spill all the beans for miniature painting and how I make money and stuff. But so when let's just say, Michael, when you paint something for Reaper, how often do they send you a check for that model after the first one?
Never. You get paid. You get paid that one time. That's it.
You get paid one time for your art. Yeah, and that is the big problem with miniature painting. Now, if I could paint, or if you painted that dragon for me and I sent you $200 a month for the rest of your life, and every single one of your clients did the same thing, you would be like, dude, this miniature painting gig is awesome, because after a couple of years, you'd be getting, $30,000 a month or something, because it builds on itself, right? But that's not how it works. And that's not how miniature painting works. The other problem with commission painting is it's all labor. So I don't know anybody in most businesses. I mean, you work in a business, right? So the product you sell, do they put like after they factor in the warehouse and you and all the other employees and the electricity and all those bills, do they just not put a profit on the product?
Oh,
no.
No.
There has to be a profit. Well, miniature painting has no profit. At least most miniature painters do not add in a profit to their price, because we all do it for dirt cheap, and there's just no room. A normal business needs like a 30% markup, period, or you're going out of business. So I looked at my business and there was a 0% markup. Okay. And at that, I probably wasn't even making a good wage, with what I was charging. So I realized very quickly, I'm like, okay, so even if I work my butt off 24 hours a day, I'm still going to go broke, or if something, like right now it's okay, but if something happens, I'm in big trouble. So I knew I had to have something that I could sell multiple times over. And that's where teaching comes in. I can teach the same thing over and over again, because there's always new painters. There's always people who need to brush up on technique, or, whatever, or just need help. I mean, I do a lot of private coaching, in fact, today I'm in between 8 private coachings right now. So that's why I ate dinner while we were talking before. It's a tight day, but, so just having that, something that I can tell over and over again, sell the same thing over. I can make a video for Miniature Monthly and people can watch that for the rest of eternity, for $5. It's nothing, So,
well, tell me a little bit about, because maybe there's somebody watching today that's maybe a little intimidated to do private coaching, because spending private time with you is always a little scary.
It's super scary, yeah.
Right. Tell us maybe just generally what the process, and what somebody, if they wanted to do some private coaching with you, what would that entail?
So we start off the private coaching process. I come in, I'm always shirtless, because
yeah.
Pasty white skin and just
lubed up, good, nice little layer lube. Yeah, that's important. It
really does take the edge off.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the way. I think we kind of learned that from each other, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the thing so when I first started private coaching, everything evolves, right?
Right.
But when I first started private coaching, it was like, okay, well, I'm going to teach my methods and all this stuff. And what I found out really quickly was each painter was at a different level, and each painter had different aspirations. I've got painters who are like, I want to win Crystal Brush, like I want to be the best painter in the world, and then I have painters who are like, I just want to paint models for my friends, or my kids want their D&D figures. That's what I want to do. So there's all different levels of painter that come to me. And so what I started learning was meet that person where they're at. So I ask a bunch of questions. We go over some things, and I just kind of process like, okay, is this person, do they want to spend 94 hours on their miniature glazing it? Maybe not. Okay, so we're not going to cover that as much. But what I will show them is ways to achieve similar looks that are maybe a little bit faster. And so, I mean, I tricked one of my buddies into learning OSL, like he didn't even want to do it because it seemed too hard. And we just kind of, the more we talked and stuff, and it was like, well, do this and do that and do this. And then all of a sudden the guy's like showing me how to do OSL, like, so that's really fun for me. And just seeing people grow and enjoy their hobby, I think is really good too. I think that at the end of the day, you got to enjoy your hobby. Right. And so, if I can help you skip some of that learning curve, like let's take airbrushing, for example. It took me a good 7 years to finally feel comfortable and know exactly how my airbrush worked. But I can teach you in a couple hours, that same 7 years, So it's like, gosh, if I had that, I totally would have jumped at that opportunity. I just didn't, There weren't those opportunities when I started, So
no, it's a good feeling to be able to pass on all the stuff that you've learned, whether I've learned stuff from you and then now I can pass it down to somebody else or whatever it is. It feels rewarding, and again, that I love that you've done that because you've always had this great energy about you, great enthusiasm. A few people have commented, and I've never seen. I know it can't shut up. It just keeps talking. But anyways, no, just this great enthusiasm, great love, great passion for it, and I never wanted to see that go. And there's been a few times even before you started doing this where I would say, God, he's so burned down. He's so. And that's when you were just doing commission stuff that you've reinvigorated, and you've got this cool little badass company that's doing like. Not only the Patreon stuff, not only the private sessions, but you're doing a lot of contests as well, trying to encourage, even in these crappy ass COVID times, there's some painting contests that you can actually participate in as well, which is
especially during COVID, everyone's sitting at home. You should be painting a model for the Miniature Monthly Masters.
Yeah, tell us about that. What's going on there?
So we do a contest every year, and when we started it, my thought was, contests are what really helped me push my level, because if it wasn't for like a Golden Demon coming up or ReaperCon coming up, there was no, like, I couldn't self-motivate enough to go to a higher level. I wanted to do a higher level, but it's like when you start talking about 20, 30 hours on a paint job, like that's a investment in your life, and the contests were what kind of helped me push me there, and sure enough, I went for 5 years to Games Day and never won anything, and every year I'd have to ask myself, like, is this really for me? Like, I don't, but I kept at it, and eventually I started winning, and so I want to give that to somebody else, basically. So also, I wanted to give back a little bit. The patrons have been so good to us. Hey, I pay my rent with Patreon money. Like, thank you. And so in return, we share like a lot of secrets and our passion for painting and stuff. And so that's cool. It's a good trade off. What was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought.
That's all right. Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons why, when we always seem to end up sitting either next to each other or really close to each other at ReaperCon. But I enjoy that, not from getting sick every time, but just from the sharing of ideas, because both of us would be like, look at each other's piece, and I'll be like, I really love what you did here, but both. And this is something that, I don't think enough people do, is you're really quick to say, yeah, maybe you should have done this, or did you think of doing this? And I'm like, damn it, I didn't, or yeah, I didn't see that. Oh, thank you so much.
I appreciate when people do that to me, because it's like, I mean, sometimes, okay, so we're all human, right? And every once in a while someone be like, Michael, what was the reason you went with Bert? I'm not really, I don't understand your highlighting process and blah, blah, whatever. And sometimes it hits you just right, and you're like, you son of a bee, like, it's just like, it just wasn't the right time for you to hear a critique or whatever, and it hurts, right? So sometimes we take the guy and break his neck or whatever, but I think it's always good, because a lot of times, I'll tell you this, and I've seen it happen, as you get better at painting, all of a sudden people stop giving you hints and tricks and ideas. And I always told myself, I'm like, I don't ever want to be that painter, Now, maybe you catch me at a time where I just don't have time to talk to you. And but I talked to a lot of good painters, like Chris Surrey. He allowed me into his whole process for Crystal Brush a couple years ago, and that was amazing. Like just watching him paint his pieces and stuff. That guy's an amazing painter, but it's cool being part of that process and helping somebody. And like I always say, my ideas are just suggestions. Like it's not the end all. You don't have to do it. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I may never talk to you again, but you're not going to hurt my feelings. It's just an idea, and if I can spark an idea or something in you, and maybe you come up with something better, all the better. I want to see you succeed. And I think so much in our human nature, someone else starts doing good, and you're like, oh, wait a second, Michael's getting a lot of props for his show, on Reaper. Like, I'm jealous of that. I'm not going to talk to him anymore. Well, that doesn't make any sense,
No.
Like, maybe it'd be good if Michael succeeds and, all those things. So, I don't know. I think if we kind of accept each other a little bit more, and when you see someone else succeed, it's not that you're not succeeding. It's just either A, you got to try harder, or B, just be happy for them.
Yeah. And I love to see, and I've had people comment as I was learning and getting better and come up to me and said, and they were very tentative to say, yeah, you're really getting better, because they didn't want to offend me. I've always been like, no, thank you for that praise. I think I'm getting better, but it's nice to be recognized that I'm improving. Right. And so when I see people that I've set 2 ReaperCons ago or 3 ReaperCons ago, and they were entering and they're getting a bronze or maybe a silver medal, and they're now kicking at gold and solid gold, and they're competing for Sophies, it's like proud. And if they've, asked me for feedback and they've taken that and applied it, and they're like, yeah, you told me this and I did this. It's like, wow, I'm winning because you're doing better. It's such a thrill for that. It's not to say, oh, I've won, I've done all this stuff, I'm, great. Whatever, screw that. It's fun to give back and to see people grow and everything. 'Cause we've all got our trophies. Let's, other people should win them too. And I like to see them grow and push on. One person I see pop up, and I'm gonna call him out a little bit, is Greg Zuniga, for instance. He has busted his ass over the years to improve and grow and develop and just make himself a top level painter. And he's just one person that I know he'll be comfortable in me calling him out and saying that. He's just does, he's really taken advice. He's really plugged. I know he's spent one-on-one time with you. I mean, him and I have gone over stuff. But
dude, I've taken classes from him on weather.
Yeah.
I mean, it all goes around circle. And he even told me, I took a class at Cold Wars many years ago. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I walk into the class and he's like, what are you doing here? What possibly could I show you that you don't already know? And I was like, well, probably a lot of things, because I'm not you and I don't paint like you, Like there's always something that you can learn. And I think that's where, I think it's wrong if you look, if I look at it and I go, okay, I'm good at true metallic metals. So why would I ever take Michael Proctor's true metallic metal classes? Because that's immediately showing everyone that he's better than me. Well, don't look at it that way. Like, this isn't a who's better than who. This is a Michael Proctor makes, and by the way, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at people's models and they had fantastic metallics, and they're like, "Yeah, I took Proctor's class last year."
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Awesome, And it's I'm like, I can tell, it has that kind of style. It has their own style worked into it, but it definitely has some Proctor, the shading and stuff is like, okay, yeah, I get where you got that, and not only that, but you're you took the money and ran with it, and Greg is a great example of this, where I remember he sat at the silver level for it must have been 25 years, right?
There's the bus. You may not know about it, but you see on the left, that's get on or get under. That's the Clever Crow bus. So we have to run over somebody with the bus. And Greg, I didn't run you over today.
No, and that wasn't a knock on Greg.
No, not at all.
I know he was feeling the same thing. He's like, what do I have to do to get over this hump? And it's not easy to get a gold medal at ReaperCon. It just isn't, But the thing is, so I could tell he'd be disappointed each year, and it was the same way for me when I was entering Golden Demons. It was like, what do I got to do? I don't understand what more I have to do, but you know what? He never stopped. He kept pushing. He kept taking advice from people, but he kept practicing and he kept practicing. And I remember the year he won gold for the first time. And it was like, I mean, I don't know, maybe I thought I was more excited than he was, because it was like,
Right.
you see someone succeed. Like, you see someone who worked so hard for something and they finally got it, and it was like, right on. So little things like that, like,
Do you remember the period in your growth when, like you mentioned, you were going to Golden Demons and you weren't getting the results that you were hoping for, and you were like, I just want to place, I just want to make first cut, I just want to get a bronze demon, I just want, whatever it was. How did you take that disappointment from not placing and then apply it? Because you got to wait a whole nother year for you to show yourself again. I guess there's other cons, but your big goal at the time was Golden Demons. I know from talking to you. How did you take that and channel that and not get too frustrated? Does that make sense?
First thing I did was I started sleeping with the judges.
Well, we all know that about you. You don't have to go there because that's obvious.
No. So I think it hurt. It hurt every single time I lost, And what didn't make me feel any better was all my friends telling me, you got robbed. Because the first year, nobody, because I wasn't even in the ballpark, and I knew it. It was like, okay, I thought I had a good chance. I got there. As soon as I saw my models next to everyone else's, I was like, okay, I got a lot to work on next year. A horrible painter, but it wasn't even making the cut type of thing. And then the second year I made the cut, and I made the cut every year after that. And I was like, okay, well, and slowly but surely I'd look at the other models. I think one of the important things was I looked at the other models that were in the gallery, and I was really honest with myself. And I said, do I belong next to those models? Like, really? And it wasn't until like the fourth year that I was like, okay, I belong here. I'm in the running, but I still don't know what to do to win. And so it really was after each time, I lost, which was every time. I think I would be disappointed. Sometimes I'd be mad, like sometimes it would be like a 2-week mourning period after the contest.
Did you ever get mad that the judges didn't see what you did?
I don't think it was so much that, like, it wasn't like blaming judges, for my, that I didn't win or that they didn't place this or that. It was more just, I didn't know what to do, and like, it wasn't like, because you fall in love with your model to a certain extent, you spend so much time with it. You're like, this blending on this face is so good. And then the judges look at it and they're like, yeah, but look at that face, okay. It's right next to a Marika Reimer or a Jen Haley piece. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's a lot smoother than mine. And I get it, whatever. But I think I let that disappointment and that little bit of, I can't say I was angry, but like I'd be mad at myself, mad at, like, I don't know what to do. I'm exasperated, with the situation. And I would let that drive me for the next year. So after the 5th year of not winning Golden Demons, my goal was to embarrass the judges. That's what I told myself. I was like, I'm going to paint this model so good that if they don't pick me, it will be an embarrassment, Now, granted, that doesn't mean that 2 or 3 other people didn't beat me, physically, but that was my goal. And I was like, if I can just get a bronze, and the next year I got 3 Golden Demons. It was my first time winning, and I placed in 3 categories.
Awesome.
But I think that was because I was too dumb to quit, and I kept pushing it. But here's the other thing. I put in a lot of time on those models. It wasn't a 15-hour, 20-hour paint job. All of them were 30, 40, 50 hours, like it was a big time investment. And I knew that everything had to be perfect. So,
but 5 years, I mean, I think the thing to focus to there is 5 years you persisted and you worked on it and you took the challenge. And that's where I was kind of hoping you would go, because I think that's so important that we see people, and you and I see people at ReaperCons, and they want to do good and everything. And sometimes it just takes a little time. There was a long time when I was just crap. I was just trying. But it took a while for it finally to click to the degree that it's clicked. Because you can always get better, you can always improve. But it's good that you say that. I think too many times people see folks like yourself that have won a bunch and they're like, oh, I want to be as good as Aaron.
Just
Well,
happen
it takes time.
overnight.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. And, the hours that you put into a piece, and sometimes people enter and they'll ReaperCon or whatever. It's like, well, yeah, I painted that in 10 hours. Well, I might, a comment a lot of times is, what if you had 20 hours in it? What it would look like? What if you had more? Okay, it's good for that, but what if you put more of yourself into it, more of an investment into it as well?
Right.
So yeah.
So a perfect example of that is a few years ago I did a piece called "No Hope" for Crystal Brush, and it was a diorama. It was an infinity diorama.
That was by the way, that's the movie theater.
Right.
That's my favorite piece that you've ever done.
Oh, cool.
It was by far. Yeah.
And that one, it took 250 hours. The theater was fully scratch built except for the sign. And it was one of those things where I was almost done with it. I did 250 hours all in 1 month. So I worked double shifts every single day till it was done. And I got to the last week before Crystal Brush, and I was so sick of that model. The front of it was pretty much done. It was as it looks, in the photographs today. It was completely done. There was one side of the model that really didn't matter, and I was ready to mail it in. I was like, it's got paint on it. I'm done. Like nobody cares. They're not going to take a picture of this side because it's not interesting, all that stuff. But in the back of my mind, I said, some other painter is going to make sure every angle of his model or her model is finished to the nines. It's going to be as good as they can make it. I don't want to be the painter who doesn't do that. And so I forced myself to spend another week. When I was finished, I spent another week working on that thing. And, I won by 1/100th of a point that year. I got third place by 1/100th of a point. You can't tell me that if I hadn't finished that side of the building, to look the exact same as everything else, that a judge wouldn't have turned that model and said, this side looks like they mailed it in. And all it needed was 1/100th of a point.
Right. Exactly. And that's what got you that 1/100th.
Yeah. But the thing is, in the same breath, I could have lost by 1/100th of a point with putting that extra effort in. But it is what it is. It's a subjective, system.
It is. And you can bring the very best piece that you could ever make. And
it could not place.
And that shouldn't be any comment. And we've talked about that by Don't Be Sad diorama that I entered there that didn't make cut at Crystal Brush. And then I brought it to ReaperCon and it did great. But yeah, you can't, there was a judges are judges. Judging is subjective, but there was just so many.
There's a lot to look at. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, it kind of is what it is. So I always look at that. It's like, it's not like you wasted your time. I guess if you looked at it like that, you shouldn't be doing this. No. For one.
Because then it's not your passion. You need to find the fun again if that's where you're hitting.
Right. It shouldn't be all about victory. I get that it feels good to be recognized, and it does, but I've lost way more times than I've won. I've entered a lot of contests, and I've lost way more times than I care to even mention, so it's okay. It doesn't mean you can't be upset, and it doesn't mean, and that being upset or being sad or, whatever should, I think, spur you on to do better, when we started Miniature Monthly, I was still, I am still painting for companies and stuff. And one of my patrons, we were at a convention one time and they're like, I don't get it. You just keep getting better. You're better than when you started the Patreon. And I said, well, I have to be because all you guys are getting better. I always look at teaching, like if I teach you something, Michael, and then you beat me at my own game, okay, so we're gonna learn you some non-metallic metals, and I show you everything I can possibly do, and this is how I did Best of Show Avatar of Cain, this is how it's done, and then you take that information and you do better non-metallic metal than I do, and you beat me in the next contest. That just means I need to get better at non-metallic metal, and that's how it should always be. Share that information. And that's one thing I try to do on my videos on Miniature Monthly, big time, is really go into like, this is how to paint. Not necessarily this is how to paint a dragon. This is how to paint so you can paint a dragon. And here's all the secrets that I know. Take the money and run with it. And shoot, if they do better than me, I have private coaching students that I swear are way better painters than I am.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still taking advantage, they're still finding stuff out for me. I still have something to offer, But
even like teaching it where the students are, they're just learning. I pick up a lot just from watching them process the information that I'm spewing forth.
Exactly.
And the way they apply it, not only to the way I teach, but I have learned, I like to do a lot of the basing classes and whatever, and the compositions that people just come up with organically. Sometimes it's like, holy crap, that's really cool. I'm going to steal that one. I'm going to steal that idea,
You remember the ReaperCon? This was several years ago, so maybe you don't. But there was a Mouseling conversion where it was a Land Rover, like a Moon Rover.
I do remember.
Drive it like it's stolen.
Do you know?
I remember that piece for the rest of my life.
The reason we have a Mouseling trophy is because of that piece.
Because of that piece?
Yep, because of that piece. It couldn't win a Sophie. It wasn't executed well enough paint-wise, but the idea was so spectacular.
The idea was unbelievable. And so because of that piece, I started when I would go to a contest, because we all go to contests and we all do our own judging.
Yeah, air quotes. Yeah.
And then afterwards, we can tell the other painters, oh, you got robbed and all this stuff. But so I started looking at competitions because, so the judges don't always pick what I like.
Mm-hmm.
And that shouldn't matter because that's their decision and that's fine. But I started looking at what piece touched me this year. And I think the next piece that I saw, the next competition, was Gen Con, and it was one of your pieces. And I didn't know that you had made it or anything. It was it was I called it the Mushroom King. I don't know what you called it. But it was the mushroom guy with all the colors, and it had mushrooms, and that you would dry out for 20 years or something.
Yeah, the ones that didn't smoke. Yeah, those are the ones.
Yeah, exactly. But that piece was like, wow. Just the colors and stuff, the composition was really cool. And so I started looking at, when I would look at a contest, I would go, what's my takeaway from this? What inspired me in this contest? And I didn't care if it won awards or anything. It was like, what actually touched me, And then when I would paint something for a competition, that would be kind of my goal too. Like, can I inspire someone's imagination by the piece I'm making? So, are you going to inspire somebody by painting a stock model and not doing anything with it? Probably not, So what can I do to make that model a little bit better? What can I do to make the base really cool, tell a story? What are those little things? I did one talking about a simple thing, but it inspired imagination. The first year I won runner-up to Best in Show at ReaperCon. It was, I forget the name of the company. It was a piece for George Martin, and it was the girl sitting by the lake. And she looks like a Athenian, like a Roman goddess or something. She's just sitting there holding a shield and a sword. The shield's on the ground, the sword's on her lap. And she was kind of pointing her foot down. And everyone I had seen do that model had made her on grass, because that's what you'd imagine, right?
That's what you do.
Well, when I saw it, I go, that looks like when I was a kid, my mom would sit on the side of the pool and she'd dip her foot in the water. So I thought, I'm going to make a little pool of water in front of her, and she's going to be dipping her toe in it. Now, when I made the model and put it on the base and everything, I had no clue if the resin would actually fill high enough for her to touch the water.
Right.
Luckily, it did, and her foot just kissed the water. Well,
cool.
I had so many people come up to me during that ReaperCon and just go, that model is so good, and her touching her foot in the water just reminded me of being a kid or something. I mean, I touched so many people just with that simple act, and I thought that's what you do when you're doing a miniature. When you're in a competition or something, if you can get people imagining things or inspire their imagination, I think that's a win, whether you win or not in the contest. So I think little things like that are important. And, if somebody's thinking or imagining stuff about your model, they're thinking about your model, and you have a better chance of winning too. That's the other thing.
Yeah. If you can hold their interests, you can make them stop for just a few more seconds and not pass on to that next miniature, then you've achieved, regardless of what you win or don't win. You have a successful piece, in my opinion, if you can capture them.
I exactly look at it that way. If I hear people, I keep my ears open. It's always nice when you hear good things. Obviously, sometimes you're like, wow, why did he pick green? Man. But you got to chalk that up too, because that's someone's opinion, and maybe that's everyone's opinion. Who knows?
Maybe that's a valid opinion. Maybe it's not. Maybe whatever.
Sometimes, it's not always roses. So I pay attention to the bad opinions or the bad critiques, but I also, if somebody's like, "Wow, that's amazing," that's a really good feeling. I just keep my mouth shut and move on. But it's like, it's always good to hear those little things about your work.
Now, I see you slinking around the ReaperCon entry room looking for those high praises for hanging around your entries in particular. That's right. I see what you do. All right. So, holy crap. We're almost at the hour, but you got a little more time, don't you?
I can probably go to 6:15 because I actually have another private coaching right after this. So,
so we're going to talk about. You've been at more ReaperCons than me, I think. You were coming. I think at my first ReaperCon, I actually took a class from you. But the one ReaperCon I distinctly remember. There we go. Is the Hollywood Squares ReaperCon. Do you remember that? Uh-oh.
Hello. Proctor.
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know.
Okay.
My
internet dropped for a second, I think.
Yeah, I think because I froze up. Anyways, I was talking about ReaperCon. And
so Hollywood Squares, I don't remember that at all.
You don't remember that even vaguely.
Great tell.
It was at the old Reaper when ReaperCon used to be at the Reaper facility. Those
were the days.
ReaperCon at the big venues is awesome and everything, but there was something special. We'll never be able to go back to that.
No. I mean, there was like tops 250 people. I mean, it was very small. It was very quaint. And to lead things into this, everyone that told me, they're like, dude, you've made it in Reaper when they ask you to be in Hollywood Squares. I mean, it wasn't even all the teachers that would get into that. It was like you had to be like, they had to really want you because it was a big deal. And
I know.
And everyone would know how cool you were.
Which was why I wasn't surprised they selected you. But when I got on there, I was like, I don't know. They must have been scraping the bottom of the barrel. Yeah, the standards went down, fortunately, for my taste. But unfortunately, was the positioning of the seating. So if you think of old school Hollywood Squares, there's 9 squares. And so there's 3 in the top row, 3 in the middle, and 3 in the bottom. Well, I was middle right. You could have been in any other of the 8 squares remaining. Right. But no, you had to be top
right behind you. Yeah, of course.
And then we had to be consuming adult beverages at the time too.
Right. So at the time, if you hadn't been to Reaper, the sculptors were big into ciders and blueberry ciders. So that was happening quite a bit before the squares.
Yeah, there was a lot of priming of the pump, let's say.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. There was a lot that was going on, and then it was tight quarters. I mean, you had your little square.
Right in front of me. I was trying to rub your shoulders, but you were, for some reason, denying me.
Well, you were trying to rub other places, but we'll talk about that as well. But as the show proceeded, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of goofy questions that you got to answer, and goofy voices, or how you could be, how you could trick, just like you do in the old school Hollywood Squares for those that are old enough to remember that. But yeah, and then all of a sudden, I thought there was a leak in the roof or something, or I don't know what was going on. I just kept getting wet. Let's rephrase that a little bit. I kept smelling like cider.
So
And
I was having problems holding on to my not just apple cider, it was blueberry, which made it worse because blueberry stains a little bit more than apples do.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed.
Oh, it does. That shirt was ruined. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And it wasn't just one spill.
No, I spilled once and it was like, oh, I'm really sorry.
It wasn't just 2 spills. No, it wasn't 2. Let's see. It wasn't just 3 spills. I think we were up in the 4 or 5 spills.
Like we were up in the 4 or 5 or 6 spills. And I at a certain point, I remember in my drunken state going, I can't believe he's still sitting in front of me. And I don't know how, like, it was like, not like I wasn't trying to hold on to the bottle. It just kept falling out of my hands. Like,
no. And I was hammered as well. And I don't even know if I realized it was, after someone else had probably given account. But it was a lot of fun. I got a new shirt out of the deal.
Well, that's
I had to go to the Reaper closet and get a new Reaper shirt because mine was completely drenched and full of blueberry cider. So.
Good times. That's the only way to go, really.
Yeah, but that's the fun, and I think once we get past all this COVID stuff, and it's kind of the fun of doing the cons and whatnot, and what I really enjoy about it.
I'll tell you right now, ReaperCon, the online ReaperCon was, I thought, pretty amazing. I mean, it's the best. I've seen kind of what Gen Con did. It was like, like Reaper went all out. They went bananas, and it was really cool. Like I was shocked. Let's put it that way. Like it was way better than I ever thought it could be, and I know it was a lot of hard work to do. But ReaperCon, and Liz and I both talked about this. That's the one con we're really sad about missing this year. Yeah. Because of the people, and like, I mean, there's just some, like, it's so simple, but it's like so meaningful at the same time. And when you don't have it, like I realize, just like we talked about Greg earlier, like walking around a corner and Greg's coming around and he smiles at you, like that's a good feeling, And I have that with so many people, Rhonda, Andy Finley, like all my friends are there at ReaperCon, and it's like a big crossover too, and so it's like from a lot of different genres and stuff, and I really miss them. So it'll be good when that stuff comes back around again, but I'm also glad that people have kind of embraced the online thing, and we still get, like, I mean, dude, we get to talk to each other tonight. This is cool,
No, I don't think this show would have happened if it wasn't for the COVID thing. I don't think I travel so much for work that it would have been. We talked about it. Yeah. Justin and I have talked about it, and it's just, I don't know. Yeah, let's see. But then when everything was rolling, I'm like, hell, I'm at home. Let's do the damn show. And it's been a lot of fun. And like exactly what you just said. It's what I really get a kick out of this is I get to hang out with you, which we wouldn't ever just dedicate an hour and a half to talk. Like, you don't have time to do that
because everybody's coming up and talking to you.
Exactly. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, I'm glad for the people who spend the time to actually listen to these shows, and, and heck, even if nobody was watching, I'd still hang out and talk to you, Michael. So,
hey, do you skateboard anymore? Are you skateboarding at all anymore?
I don't, because basically what happened was it ended up to the point where my back was going out about every 3 months, and it was bad. And so I was like, this is way too often for this to be normal. And so I went in, and they were like, yeah, your back's a little bit jacked up. So I went into a lot of procedures and stuff, like not surgery or anything, but just, kind of mitigating any damage I'd done earlier in my life, and a lot of it's from sitting for a long time and stuff like that, but also from skateboarding and stuff. And so I kind of realized, she said, you're at a point where you can slow the degeneration of your back down considerably, and so that's what I did. I spent a lot of money and got a lot of treatments, and things got really a lot better. Of course, then we got in a car accident, and things got bad again. So it was like I erased all that. But we're back on track, and things are better. But I did realize.
What do you do? You sit a ton for your job, for your painting and everything.
Yeah, it's tough.
How do you? Because if I sit too much, I've got to get up and move around. I've got, or my back. I mean, I've had back surgery and a couple of Reapercons ago, and you got it. Sitting is not good for you. We're not designed to sit for long periods of time. So how do you keep, with all the sitting that you have to do, how do you keep that balance that you keep your back healthy?
Walk the dog. I don't know. There probably when we have
walk
to
the dog.
Yeah, walk the dog. I may be that dog, but I'm walking. I am going to look into like a standing desk when we get to because we moved into a place here in Georgia, but we're watching a house for a friend of ours. And she gets back from deployment at the end of this year, so that's when we move to our regular house, or the place we're going to be at for a while. And I'm thinking about probably investing in a standing desk just so I have the option. Yeah. But you're right, it's hard. I've been blessed that my like I said, I was having some problems and I got treatment and things got better. And then we got in a car accident and things got worse. And then I got treatment and things got better. Right. So, I typically go to the chiropractor. Maybe, I'll try to go, from now on, I'll probably try to go at least once a month just to keep things in like flowing. But it's hard. I mean, I sit for a living and that's how I make my money. It's like, I'm not sure how to, other than take breaks and stuff, but you know how it is. So you're painting this dragon. If I stopped you every hour and made you get up and walk around, like you lose the flow and
you do. You lose your juju. Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah. Like when I get going on painting, 6 hours can drop like the drop of a hat. Like it just all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, it's dinner time, and I started at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I haven't moved that entire time. So it's one of those things where you do have to, like, we're not getting any younger. And, you just kind of got to pay attention to it. So I can't say that other than chiropractic treatment, which is, I say, saved my life big time. Other than that, just walking the dog. Right. And like I said, I know Matt DiPietro uses a standing desk and he had back problems, and that solved a lot of those problems for him.
I'll look into that. I am.
Yeah,
I do a fair amount of. I get out on my bike and I ride my bike a lot. That helps stretch a lot. And I also will do yoga. I've got a couple of yoga, little basic yoga for back strength and stuff, and it's like 30 minutes. I'll do that like every few days or so if I'm starting to feel it. But that helps as well. And we should have Greg Zuniga on just to talk about that. That'd be a great.
Yeah, that would actually, like proper posture and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm pretty blessed. Like, I mean, the accident that we had in January was.
Dude, that was just the pictures were just horrendous.
Yeah, it was gnarly. Yeah, the fact that we're talking right now is probably pretty amazing. Like, I can't believe that we walked out of that car. But that being said, I mean, we had some really difficult months. I'm not like, it was bad. Which you can imagine getting hit that hard from behind, I mean, even with the car crumpling the way it did and everything, it was tough. Yeah. But we've gotten, I think, good care, and things are, are on the mend, and so now we just got to keep that going. But my back is the main reason I stopped skateboarding, because I can't not.
You're competitive, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I like going fast, so the chances of me like crashing really hard, and now just the fact that I realize, okay, my body's not 24 anymore. Yeah, and there's things that are more important in my life, quite honestly, like keeping my job and spending time with my family and stuff like that. So it is what it is. But I still love those skateboarding days. In fact, I got one of my private coaching students was an ex-skateboarder, and he used to skate for ramps and stuff up in Canada. And Jeff Davis, he did a bunch of classes for ReaperCon, which was
I know the name.
Great guy. But we talk all the time about our old skateboard days and just the crazy shenanigans and stuff that went on, and it was a lot of fun. Injuries and. Luckily, I never got injured too bad, but he had some doozies to tell. So,
Well, I want to be aware of your time and everything because you've got a session coming up, a coaching
Cool.
session, right?
I
Yeah.
almost wish I didn't have a session because it's
I
been
know.
fun
Well,
talking.
we can do it again. We
Yeah,
still got
yeah,
a lot of other
definitely.
shit to talk about too.
Definitely.
Yeah, we didn't even get to the thing I wanted to ask, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, let's save that.
you have 4 minutes. You can ask it.
No. I wanna do a deep dive because
Oh,
Yeah.
deep dive. Okay.
I have my own stuff to tack onto it too because we had an experience with them as well. So
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll just give one more plug to I'm doing
Please.
airbrush painting classes in the month of October. If you go to miniaturemonthly.com, it's the only class on the schedule. And if you type in ReaperCon 2020, all caps and all one word, you get 15% off on your order or whatever. So, and then also on Reaper, we have bundles and stuff set up so people can get their miniatures and stuff. If you want to, you can paint anything you want in the class, but it's always good to paint what I'm painting because then we have something to talk about,
Yeah.
or I know exactly what you're doing. But other than that, it's a super fun class. It's definitely my most popular, and it's doing pretty good right now. So check that out if you want to learn how to airbrush or you're thinking about getting the Vex. It's great to get some. Well, you probably want an airbrush already, but if you're wanting to learn how to use your airbrush, it's a good class to be in. It's a 4-week course, 2 hours per week, and there's back and forth critiques with me. We do a Discord thing where you can post all your work in progress and stuff, and I can critique it and tell you what you're doing wrong, doing right, and it's actually pretty cool. It works out really well. So
No, my airbrushing chops all came from taking a class with you many years ago.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yep.
I wanted to have you on just because we're buddies and everything, but I wanted to push Miniature Monthly, and for those, if there are anybody that's watching this that doesn't know about you and know about your stuff, definitely check it out. It's worth the time, and have a Patreon account or follow some folks. Just get a little bit inspired by, and I think Miniature Monthly is a great path for that.
Thank you
But yeah,
very much. I appreciate it. And
yeah.
like I said, we're doing our contest up until the start of November, I think is the final due date. But there are so many manufacturer awards. You can win stuff from, like I said, Reaper has a manufacturer award. So the best Reaper figure, doesn't matter if it's first, second, or third in the category. It just needs to be the best Reaper figure of the event. Gets a really cool Reaper trophy. And we've done that the last 2 years. This will be our 3rd year. But we also have a really cool trophy from Dark Sword, Creature Caster. This is stuff these are trophies you can't get anymore because of COVID. Right. So, and they're not, they're really cool trophies. Like I'm like, dude, I want to quit Miniature Monthly and go after a couple of these, but
and they're not easy wins either, because there's a lot of good entries there. Yeah.
There's a lot of good entries, but again, I think those are the contests you want to be part of.
Yeah.
Put your, just to see where you're at, compared to other painters. And then, we've got all of our videos and stuff for learning how to paint. And, there's lots of assets. We have a really healthy Discord group right now that's just gone bonkers since ReaperCon, really. ReaperCon changed a lot of things for online socialization, I think. And our Discord has gone absolutely bonkers. Like, so many people talking. And you don't even have to be a Miniature Monthly member to be in our Discord. Like, we have an All the Peeps thing that's for anybody. So, there's my alarm.
Right.
So yeah, there's lots of options. Even if you don't join my Patreon, there's lots of other ones. It's not just about me or Elizabeth or Matt DiPietro. There's so many good avenues. If you want to invest in your learning about miniature painting, there's Ben Comments, there's Bohan, there's Sergio Calvo, Banshee. There's tons and tons of
Rhonda Bender just started her own Patreon.
Yeah, Rhonda's a perfect example. Yeah. And that's a way to help support, miniature painters, because like I said before, I got to the point where I was like, I need to do something else, and basically everything I learned over the years would just go the way of the dodo, because, I don't have the money to be able to share,
And you're getting old. You're not getting any younger. So
right, I got to leave something for the grandkids.
So back in my day,
it was for $25.95. But hey, back in my day, there wasn't any online support at all. Maybe there were like 1 or 2 videos. That was it. And now you have a plethora of, if you like a certain person's style, you can help support them just eating every month, but also learn how they do it,
Right.
which I think is awesome. And I love the learning aspect of this. I don't
Yeah.
think if I had learned everything, I would quit painting. I'll
Yeah.
tell you that right now. It'd be
Well,
over. I have no more desire.
yeah. You won't.
But
No one can
luckily,
learn everything, so everyone
yeah,
should continue to go.
luckily, every time I think that's the end, somebody comes up with something new, and you're just like, "Holy cow! This opens a whole new bag of worms,"
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
or can of
Yeah.
worms. I guess they don't come in bags, do they?
Well, I don't know. It depends on where you shop.
Bio. Right on. Okay, I actually do have to go, but
All
thank
right.
you for having me on. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody, for sticking around and watching. Or if you stepped away so you didn't have to hear me, you can now come back.
Yeah.
Because you're going to talk to cool people like Bobby
No.
and
Well, it won't be the same without you. We'll just wrap up if you need to jump.
I'm actually a little bummed that I didn't get to talk to him. So yeah, definitely I'll come back on. That's
All right,
for
cool.
sure.
Yeah. All right,
All
bro.
right. Thank you
Hey,
very much.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you very much, Aaron.
See you guys later.
Hey,
All
so
right.
everybody, all of the viewers, thanks for tuning in. Sorry, our show's been a little inconsistent lately. I would say it's mainly Justin's fault, but it's not. I had to go camping last week, and so yeah. But today's really been fun to get. Aaron and I talked about motivation and enthusiasm and stuff, and the show always gives me a little bit pick up from that. So thanks a lot, and you guys tuning in and stuff is always fun. That you guys actually care to pay attention. Anyway, so Justin, are we ready for a raid?
Yes, we are. We're going to be rating CNOT.
Oh, cool. Oh yeah, I like CNOT. That's cool. Awesome.
Anyway, he's a real nice guy.
Yeah, super cool. Hey, so again, thanks everybody. Should be back next week. I don't know how about a guest yet. We'll figure that out. I have some ideas. Got to talk to Justin about it, and then we'll go from there. But thanks again, and see you next week. And I've got to do the stream ending one. All right. You're not. Are you ready yet? Oh wait. Oh yeah. Shit. We got to talk about shows. Do we want to talk about shows? Do we do that anymore?
No, it's fine. We don't have to.
Okay. No, we can. We have. I don't know about all. Are there new shows?
Currently, I'm still working on getting Lucas' show ready to go. That is the next one out of the can.
That's going to be on Wednesdays, or when is that
I
going to be?
believe it's going to be Wednesdays. Yes.
I like his show. He's cool. I mean, I've seen his stream. Yeah. He's cool.
But outside of that, nothing new. Just check out our schedule on the offline screen. That'll kind of tell you everything. But
no, we have a tradition of talking about the shows, so we gotta keep that. So
okay, go ahead.
Monday through Friday is Reaper Toolbox with Miss Painting Big Herself, Ann Forrester, and that is at 11 Central Time.
11:30.
11:30. You backed it up in a half hour. So 11:30 Monday through Friday, every single day, she commits to showing you tips, pro tips. And then at 2:30 Central Time, is that time right? Did I get that right?
It's 3 p.m.
3 p.m. I'm not messing this up on purpose.
Sure, it sounds to me like you're trolling me.
No. At 3 p.m. is Miniature Mondays. Not to be confused with Miniature Monthly, but Miniature Mondays is Josh Davis doing his paint kits every month, which is kind of cool. He pre-paints them, then he shows you how he does them. And that's on Mondays. And then Tuesdays, and then this show, which you don't need to know the time since you tuned in. Wednesdays, and again. Then that's it for now until you can get Luca lined up. But that'll be cool to see. And then when's Rhonda Bender starting her show?
She is right after Luca.
Right after Luca. So is this going to be a show this week, or is that still in development?
No, it's still in development. Her show will be released right after Luca's.
Oh, Luca gets to go first and then Rhonda?
Yeah, because Luca's been in the pipeline for about a month and a half now. ReaperCon. The problem is all of these shows would have been released months ago, but ReaperCon took a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You're doing a great job. Everybody thank Justin. He does a good job. He puts up with me on Tuesdays, which is that's enough right there.
That's funny. No, this show is fantastic. I love doing this show.
Thursday, and again. And then we've got Sadie at 1, right?
No, 3.
Oh my God, I totally screwed that one up. Sadie at 3, and then following Sadie's show is that Reaper Live thing, and that
Yeah.
I would give a time for that show, but it never starts on time ever. Whose fault is that? Is that Ron?
Various people's. It's
Okay.
not ever just Ron. It's
No.
usually Ed. Actually, lately it's been Ed.
It's Ed or it's
he
Reaper
logs in
John.
late.
It's Reaper John's probably. It's his fault.
You know what? We can blame John, but in reality, he actually is usually the first person to actually accept the link and log on.
Yeah, because he's super organized. I see him taking notes all the time. So I mean,
I assumed he's just, since this is the show we're on, I assume he's just drawing genitals all the time. I mean, I've seen his notes. That's what 90% of it is.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Fridays is Ann again, and not to discount Ann. I mean, you catch any day watching Ann. Aaron even mentioned watching her show in the mornings when they're having the cereal. So it's good stuff. And then we have Reaperland with Dave and John. That show's still going on, right? It hasn't been canceled yet? Okay.
Has not.
And so that's a great show too. And then I don't even know what Bones 5 updates. It's every other third, fourth
Technically,
Friday.
It's the first and third Friday of each month, but we're
it's
a little off track because, or we were. I think we're on track as of now, but.
Right. And then every other Friday, which won't be this Friday, it'll be the following Friday, is the best show on Reaper Twitch is Reaper Aaron. It's by far the best show, D&D stuff. And I missed last week, and I'm kind of sad about it. I did watch a little bit of the intro. I did see that I was a D20, and that I supposedly had some, my character at least, had some nefarious ongoings with the Mushroom Queen. So we got to hear more about that. Only got to watch the beginning. So anyways, all right, that's it. Thanks again for everybody watching. And you ready?
I am ready.
All right, do whatever you need to do.
Thank you guys again for coming out. Thank you again, Proctor, for being a great journalist as always. And I know Aaron's gone, but
not a good painter, just a journalist.
Just a fantastic journalist. And,
right.
I'm not going to speak to the painting, but
don't talk about
thanks
that.
again, Aaron. If he is watching, or if Liz is still watching, they're probably busy at this point. So
we're
gonna have to have him on for a part 2. I think it'll be great.
Yeah, part 2. When Aaron
Thank you guys very much.
We'll title it "When Aaron Drops the Deuce."
Oh, perfect. Yeah. All right. On that note, guys, say hi to CNOT for us.